Happy Friday. We are trying to clear up the confusion that can exist between what Paul says throughout the New Testament and what James says here in James chapter 2, where he says faith without works is dead. So yesterday we looked at the fact that Paul, if we're going to summarize Paul, we'd say good is not good enough. We are saved on the basis of Christ and Christ's work alone. And so we do not contribute. Our works don't matter. Paul makes it clear that we are saved on the basis of God's love expressed through Christ's death on the cross for us. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. So what is it that James is saying when he says faith without works is dead? Well, he's actually saying that if there are no works, then you don't have real faith. It's not that our works lead to our salvation or contribute to our salvation. It's that works confirm our salvation. And so James is pushing back at those who say that they believe, but there is no evidence of that belief in their life. Classic illustration to highlight the difference between belief and faith is the guy that walks over Niagara Falls and goes back and forth, and one time he pushes a wheelbarrow and he rides a bike, and one point he stops in the middle and cooks an egg and eats breakfast and does all these things back and forth between the US and Canadian side on this tightrope. And then one point he's back on the US side and he asks, how many of you believe I can do this again? And lots of people raise their hand. And then he says, who wants to get in the wheelbarrow and go with me? And everybody puts their hand down. It's the difference between believing and having faith. And so James is saying, look, the faith you have is the faith that you show. And if you don't see changes in your life, then there's reason to wonder whether or not the faith that you are trusting is valid. So, as I have said many times before, the equation behind the gospel is not that faith plus works equals salvation. It is that faith equals salvation plus works. Works is actually needed. We need works, but not to earn our salvation in any way. But the works are there, James says, and Paul doesn't disagree. The works are there to confirm that the saving faith, that the faith that we have is real faith. It is a saving faith. So, hard question as you head into the weekend. You're going to take an objective look at your life. Do you see the kind of changes that ought to be growing out of a faith that is real and is leading to good works? Have a good weekend.